What are your thoughts on the relationship with Putin and where he is right now? He recently made some comment where I think as he was laughing, he endorsed Harris for presidency. I also still wonder what the Russians really think of America when they look at kind of some of the decisions they make, or if they even can understand what we're all about. Do you believe that even the White House is now worried they might have pushed this too far? Where do you think Putin is as far as headspace? We've also got hypersonic missiles that are on the table. What are your thoughts there, Colonel?
I think there's a realization in the White House that they've put everything at risk. The survival of NATO, the European Union, all of these things are at risk of going under. In fact, I predicted in January of 2022 that if the Russians went in and we responded, with great hostility and threats of war, that ultimately it would result in the destruction of NATO. And I think that's underway. You have also have this globalist class that has emerged in the post-war era that is on the verge of being removed from office. It's going to take a little longer, but I think the handwriting is on the wall, certainly in Germany. I think to some extent in France, Italy. I can't speak for Great Britain right now. I'm not sure what's happening there, but I think there's a great deal of tension there as well. So I think there is an awareness that we pushed this too far. Secondly, we're bluffing, which is always a bad thing. We're pretending that we are the country of 1991, that we have overwhelming military power, that we control events. We don't. And Russia, that began this process with a relatively weak army, a small defense establishment by our standards, now has an enormous military establishment that's quite capable. The good news for us, I think, is that Vladimir Putin is absolutely opposed to war with NATO or the United States. And he has also gone all over the Middle East and privately counseled everyone there who listens to him not to overreact to Israel. Now, can that go on much longer? Well, it's hard to tell. I think in Ukraine, his counsel is still to exercise patience and restraint on the assumption that the governments in Berlin will fall, and probably also Paris, and clearly also in Washington. And I think he's saying, we are going to get something new after the election. And I think the Russians don't understand our system, and I don't blame them. I don't think most Europeans understand us either. But I think he's aware that whoever is elected, the day after the election, there will be a different world. And there will be a willingness to do things differently. We're in this unfortunate sort of stage, pre-election stage, when no one wants to say very much of anything substantively. I mean, has anyone stood up and said, it's in the interest of the American people that immigration be halted until we can find out who's actually in our country? We know that at least 52 million people are living inside the United States who were not born in the United States. Well, you would say under those circumstances, we've got to close it off, stop, got to find out who's here. No one will stand up and say that. But privately, I hear that all the time in Washington, D.C. People actually privately say, oh, we don't know who's here. We need to find out. So that's one example. When you start talking about the events in Ukraine, there's a readiness to admit privately, Americans don't want to be involved in a war with Russia in Ukraine. But no one wants to stand up and say, we had no strategy when we began this. We still have no strategy. We have no attainable objectives. Everything we said we were going to do has failed. And our desire to destroy Russia, to harm it, and then ultimately to fragment it, divide it, destroy it, has no chance of happening. We, on the other hand, are in a lot of trouble. No one wants to stand up and say that, but privately people are beginning to figure it out. So I think Putin is right. He's saying, well, let's press ahead, but let's not overreact, because he doesn't want to go to war. And he figures, if I cross the Dnieper River right now and march west, which is what a lot of Russians want. I mean, public opinion in Russia is rabidly anti-Western now. They say, let's go all the way to the Polish border and end this thing once and for all. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to come up with an Austrian-style solution for Ukraine. He still thinks that's achievable. And he wants to exercise patience. He wants to get through the election cycle, and then hopefully something new will occur and he'll have a better shot at ending it. He doesn't want a war. Iran doesn't want a war in the Middle East. Nobody in the Middle East wants a war right now except the populations, the Turkish population, the Arab populations. They are furious. They want to kill every Israeli on the planet, but not the governments, because they see all of this as destructive and unnecessary. So it's a strange set of circumstances, but I do think inside the White House it's understood. But no courageous, intelligent decisions can possibly be made before the election.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.